All right, hello, everyone, it's silverkyle, and we are finally getting a real Nintendo Direct tomorrow. 1 day away. Boom, 50 minutes long. I am so freaking excited. We haven't had one for a year and a half. That is how long we have waited for a real Nintendo Direct, where we got like little mini ones here and there where they were like specific series related or for a specific game coming out or maybe indies or third party people, but nothing officially from Nintendo for this 50 minutes. Is this the longest Nintendo Direct that we've ever had? I don't think we've ever had actually 50 minutes. I think we've had 40s, but not 50. This is going to be insane. I cannot wait for this. I put a bunch of games to my side here of what, or for games and series that I think that we're going to potentially talk about. And at the beginning, I was like, I'm probably not going to get all of the things that I'm talking about. But we actually might hit quite a few of them because what the heck are they going to be talking about for 50 minutes unless that they specifically have maybe one game kind of go for 20 minutes or something like that. It's exciting. We don't know. We have no idea. The only game that they mentioned was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is the game that I care the least amount about because it's just going to be an extra character or something like that. And I don't care about that. I will speculate on who I think it could potentially be, though. But yeah, so freaking excited. Let's dive into this and speculate and have all these crazy predictions, and then just hopefully we're not let down. So let's get this show on the road with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the only game that they've mentioned. I figure it's going to be some characters. I don't really care. What I think that it could be is the Crash Bandicoot character, because we are getting Crash 4. The Crash trilogy has been on the Switch as well. And it kind of makes sense for them to coincide. Crash really makes a lot of sense in a game like this. So that'd be kind of cool, I guess. Not super excited, but what I would really prefer, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But man, especially because like this game is so old and the other games in this series aren't the same anymore. But I want the Harvest Moon 64 farmer in this. Think of it. He has an axe. He has a sickle. He has a hoe. What more do you? He could pick you up and throw you in his backpack and like punch you in his backpack. He could shear you. He could milk you. So many options. I would freaking love if they won't. But I mean, they've done Animal Crossing, so you never know. You never know. All right. Next thing that I think that we're going to get, because I think what they're focusing on is everything that's going to come out in the first half of 2021. So I don't really expect a lot of things that are going to be happening in holiday 2021, which is where the bigger games are going to release. So I'm thinking of like, okay, what could we get updates for? Animal Crossing, definitely. They're probably, if they're doing Super Smash, I assume that they're definitely going to have Animal Crossing. This was such a big game last year, arguably one of the biggest games for Nintendo, or even just any console last year. It did fantastically well in sales. So many people were playing it and diving so many hours into it. So definitely they're going to have to do something for it. Maybe some kind of spring update. I don't know. Something big I feel is going to be happening with Animal Crossing. I haven't played that since the spring of last year, and I might actually pop it in when I see whatever the heck they're going to be announcing for it, I assume. And if it interests me, I might go back to it. Let's talk about some games that they are going to be talking about. I figure because games that we already know about, Nintendo likes to kind of build those up a little bit. We are getting the official sequel to Bravely Default. Well, no, that's not actually true. We had the official sequel to Bravely Default, Bravely Second, which I have up there, but that was the specific follow-up to this storyline, whereas Bravely Default 2 is an actual other characters, other land, has nothing to do with it. It's got like Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3. They're all unrelated to each other. They just hold the name of Final Fantasy, in this case Bravely Default. So I could see them doing that because it's coming out at the end of the month. I'm really looking forward to that game. I loved my time. I loved a lot of aspects of Bravely Default. Loved the twist. When the twist happens and the title screen changes, oh, I like that. That's good stuff. If you've not played Bravely Default and you're a big fan of turn-based RPGs, highly recommend picking this game up on the 3DS if you have one. But if not, you can dive right into Bravely Default 2. And there is a demo out at the moment. I haven't touched it yet, though. I'm not going to. Next up, as I had mentioned before with Super Smash Bros., Crash Bandicoot 4 is coming. This is the trilogy that they have. Crash Bandicoot 4 is coming out for the Switch. So I could see them talking about that a little bit. And Crash really does make sense on the Switch. I know that it's weird because it's a PlayStation mascot, right? But because that he's now been on Xbox consoles and Nintendo consoles beforehand, I just really feel on the Switch he's at home. He's as close as you're going to get to home without it being Sony. Next up, which I'm excited for, and I hope that they talk about it, is the next Story of Seasons game. This is the Friends of Middletown, which is a remake of technically Harvest Moon 64, which eventually turned into Back to Nature, which eventually turned to Friends of Middletown on the Game Boy Advance, and then Story of Seasons. But Story of Seasons are the people that used to make the Harvest Moon games. Natsume is the one that owned the name of Harvest Moon, so they've been making their own games. We're getting a new game, Pioneers of Olive Town, I believe it's called. I'm actually getting the collector's edition of that because my brother pre-ordered it for me as part of my Christmas present. So I cannot wait to dive into that. And I want to see a little bit more of that. I hope that more people start getting into these games because they are so much fun. And it's one of the few. The other thing too that's really nice about these games is that they still look kind of like they don't look super realistic because I am so not sick and tired of realistic games, but when every game looks extremely real and they're trying to just make it look as real as possible, it looks beautiful, looks fantastic, but it kind of loses that element of now every game kind of looks the same because they're all trying to look the same. Whereas when you have cutesy games where you can kind of go with a different kind of art style, then you kind of get to see imagination soar. What are we going to do to make this game pop out and look different from others? So that's why I still like these. That's one of the reasons why I still like these games. If it looked super realistic, I'd probably play it anyway. But yeah. Anyway, next up would be Monster Hunter Rise, which is coming out for the Switch. So I could definitely see them talking about that. That's pretty big to me. I think Capcom was, going to be really pushing the Switch lately, or this year, or going forward. So I definitely see that happening. And last but not least, of games that we know that are coming out that I could see them talking about is Pokemon Snap. I don't actually own Pokemon Snap, but it's Pokemon Snap 2. I could see that happening. I don't think that we're going to get any other Pokemon news because I feel that they're going to say if a Pokemon game is actually coming out this year, other than Snap, like in the main series, I feel that would be, they're always like, a fall release, holiday, holiday, whatever year it is. That's generally when they come out. So I don't really see anything in the first half of the year other than Snap 2. But if we do get some Pokemon news, I believe that it would be a remake of whatever we're at next. I don't remember what we're at next. 4th gen, maybe? I honestly don't know. Now it's going to complete speculation now. What else does Nintendo have up their sleeve for this event? Well, we talked about a bunch of games that are coming out that they probably will talk. That much I do feel is going to happen. One of the things that I could see happening is maybe announcing the Switch 2.0, like the upgrade of the Switch. I could see that happening. I feel that's almost a little bit too early, but I mean, they could do it for the 4th anniversary of the Switch coming out. They could have it at the end of March. I could see that maybe happening. But what I see happening, because that Super Mario 3D All-Stars and Super Mario 35 are now not going to be part of Nintendo Switch Online anymore. Like you won't be able to pick up 3D All-Stars anymore, and 35 will be done. That's really unfortunate. That was a really fun game. I mean, we still have it for another month and a half, but yeah, I should probably definitely try to get first place with that. My brother's been doing amazing. He's been first place numerous times. But anyway, what I could see them doing to try to entice people to still get the Nintendo Switch Online, even though it's, the cheapest online subscription that you could possibly have, and it gives you like the some Nintendo like any original NES games and also SNES games. I feel that's almost worth the price of admission alone, and being able to play obviously the Switch games online. But they got to entice us a little bit more, so I think that we might get some 64 games finally. I mean, the Wii U had Nintendo Wii, not even the Wii U, the Nintendo Wii had 64 games on there, and Game Boy Advance. Why can't we get that? Or did it have Game Boy Advance? I know the Wii U did. I can't remember if the Wii U did. But anyway, I feel that it's time to at least get Game Boy games, which doesn't really do anything for me. But if we got some 64 or Game Boy Advance games, I would be extremely happy, and I would love that so freaking much. Now, let's talk about some games that are going to be coming out for the Switch that are going to be completely new. Whether it be ports of, because I think that there's going to be a few ports, and I'll talk about those first, and then I'll talk about sequels that I think that we might be getting. But let's talk about the first game that I think is definitely coming out for Nintendo Switch in 2021 in this first half. No. No, I don't think it's necessarily going to come out. Definitely not Cyberpunk. Can you imagine what this would look like? We would get the loading screen on the Switch. That's it. And then it would crash. But Grand Theft Auto 5, not the enhanced version that we have for the Xbox One and the PS4. I mean, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, they're going to be getting another version of Grand Theft Auto 5. Can we finally just get, the PS3 and Xbox 360 version of Grand Theft Auto 5 on the Nintendo Switch? I think that it could do it. And I just want to be playing handheld GTA. You don't even necessarily need to do Grand Theft Auto 5. I would be happy with Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. Vice City specifically. Now I want to start talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 now. I hope it's like Vice City 2. That would be freaking awesome. Okay. Anyway. Next up is another port that I think that we're going to get from the Wii U era, because there's really the Wii U, hardly any exclusives anymore. I think I might do a video on the Wii U in the next little bit, because I generally like talking about that system, because it's such an interesting system. Not a lot of people had that system. 13 million people. I think it was a horrible failure on Nintendo's part, but I still really enjoyed my time with the Wii U. Now everything's being ported over to it. And I actually have some of those ports, even though I had them on the Wii U. I beat some of these games on the Wii U, and I'm still picking them up on the Switch anyway, because I love those games. I love the library, the exclusives that they used to have on the Wii U. But anyway, I think that this one makes sense because that they did recently do a remake last year, and I think that just Nintendo really feels strongly about this series. And it has been doing well in sales, and it just keeps continuing that way. So I think that we might get Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Switch. I think that would fit, a lot. They've been really doing a good job with RPGs lately. For the Switch, you look at the Wii and Wii U, and they barely had any JRPGs at all. And the Switch, on the other hand, is finally starting to go to Nintendo's roots, where they used to really push the JRPGs quite a bit with the SNES. I mean, SNES was just a JRPG heaven right there. 64 kind of died a little bit, and GameCube brought it back a little bit back up, but it was never like the SNES days. Whereas I think the Switch is, would the Switch be considered the second biggest Nintendo console that's not handheld, that's JRPG heaven? Because I think the Game Boy Advance and the DS did amazingly well for that too. But anyway, I just really feel that we will get Xenoblade Chronicles X. Okay, now let's talk about other series that we could potentially get in the next few months here. I feel that we could maybe get a brand new RPG like in the vein of Xenoblade, where it was a new IP and we had never seen it before. I could see that happening. Not too strongly on that, but it could happen. I do see a new Donkey Kong Country game coming out, because these are relatively smaller games to make, because they're just 2D platformers, right? And we haven't had one since, I think this is 2013, 2014 is when this came out. They did port it over to the Switch, and I don't have that one yet. But I totally see that happening, because Donkey Kongs do. I feel that we are in need of it. Next one that I could potentially see happening is finally releasing Pikmin 4. We had Pikmin 3 recently ported to the Switch in the fall of last year, so just a few months ago. So I think that was kind of like testing things out to kind of like a primer to get you ready for Pikmin 4. Also, I haven't opened the seal, as you can see, but I only paid $20 for this, brand new. Very happy with that. I haven't played it, but I have it. Another one that I could see being a sequel for. I want this to happen if they do it properly, and it has been a while, and I feel that this is such a weird series, because I loved, the beginnings of it, and then it kind of just changed everything. Every time that it would release on whatever platform that it was being released on for Nintendo, it would be something different, and they would change things up a little bit. But man, Star Fox Zero was such a failure. It is such... There's It's too bad because it's essentially a remake of 64 and it would just updated graphics, but you're playing with the Wii U gamepad, and that game, like you having to look in the cockpit of any Star Fox game is not how I like to play things. I would switch it once in a while just to kind of change things up a little bit, but I would never play the entire game like that. And that game you had to, and it was on the gamepad, and you could see in the background, like you could see your TV, and you'd actually see where the R-Wing was going and stuff like that, and it kind of looked like the old school game, but you could not play that way because you had to be much more precise with the gamepad by staying in the cockpit. Really unfortunate, but I would love for them to make a proper Star Fox game, whether it be a remake or a sequel, not Star Fox Zero. I would even like, the Star Foxes that were on when they're with a third-person action adventure game. I would be okay with that. I'd much prefer that to this. We're getting to the last little bit here, but I think that we could potentially finally see a Mario Kart 9. I think a lot of people have been wanting that. Mario Kart 8 was fantastic on the Wii U. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was also fantastic on the Nintendo Switch. Love this game to death. We need a new Mario Kart. Mario Kart 9, I think it's time. Or if they don't want to go the Mario Kart route, F-Zero? Wave Race? Some kind of racer. It'd be pretty cool if they brought back F-Zero or Wave Race, though. As much as I would probably prefer Mario Kart 9, those other two games, bring them back. They're old properties of Nintendo that, why are you just letting them waste away? Especially with, this is the only big kart racer out right now. The other ones would be, Crash Team Racing, probably? And I don't think that's doing nearly as well as Mario Kart 8 is. Sonic Team Racing or whatever the heck it was? I don't know. I have them, but they're nothing like Mario Kart. And last but not least, in terms of what I think we might see, I'll talk about one other thing that we could potentially go down the route for, but the last one here would be a new Mario sports game. And I think that the next one would be Mario Golf, because that seems to be one of the ones that they keep. Tennis and golf is the ones that seem to be their money makers. And I feel that we haven't had a new one for here. 2014, another 2014 game. So it's been a while. 7 years is quite a long time between entries in specific series. So I think that we are due for a golf game. I like the golf games. Out of all the sports games, that's probably my favorite. Yeah, it's probably golf. So I could see that happening. Now, we didn't talk about any Mario games other than Mario Kart because that's not really, it's kind of unrelated because we had the 35th anniversary of Super Mario, in the fall of last year. And that's where we kind of got everything that was coming out Mario related. So that's why I don't really expect anything Mario related in the next 6 months. But another title is definitely getting its 35th anniversary in just a few days from now. And that's Zelda. Problem is that I do not see Breath of the Wild 2 coming out in the next few months. It might. I really doubt it because I feel that Nintendo would really want to hype this up a lot more because this is going to be massive. The sequel to this, I like everybody's going to be freaking out. I feel that the Switch sales are going to go up. I feel that everybody's going to be like so many people will own that sequel. So I don't see that happening, especially if they were, if they release it at the end of March. No, I just don't see that happening. It's possible, just not likely. But I feel that what might happen is that what I'm thinking is that they'll actually do another Nintendo Direct and they could kind of tease it at the end of this one saying Zelda, there's a Zelda 35th anniversary Nintendo Direct specifically related to all things Zelda that we're going to get. So I think we're either going to get a 35th anniversary in a few days from now for the 35th anniversary, which would be freaking awesome because we get one actual Nintendo Direct for 50 minutes long that doesn't even touch on Zelda, and then a Zelda 35th anniversary just a few days after. That would be insane. Well done, Nintendo, if you do that. But if not, then they could kind of mix things together and say, hey, 35th anniversary, just quickly at the end of this video, Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. They could briefly show that because they're really focusing on in the next few months. They could maybe talk about other games that are coming out for the 35th anniversary. And the main things that I could see happening would be Wind Waker, which was ported to the Wii U HD, coming to the Switch, along with Twilight Princess, and a new 2D game, whether it be a remake like Link's Awakening was, so we could maybe get a Link to the Past in this vein, or a completely new Zelda 2D style. That's another possibility that I think would be really fun. those are the main things. I've talked about the 35th anniversary before. I kind of guessed Hyrule Warriors a few days before they actually announced Hyrule Warriors, and I expected that to come out in 2021 instead of 2020. And I talked about quite a few other things, but those are the things that are really popping to mind if they're going to be talking about Zelda in the next few months. So, one other thing, because I just kind of thought of it, would be not Metroid Prime 4, but I could see maybe the Metroid Prime trilogy coming out in maybe June or something. I could see that happening. So that's all of my predictions. Let me know in the comments below what you think we're going to be seeing with this Nintendo Direct. Are you excited? I am at the edge of my seat with anticipation. I cannot wait for this. So anyway, thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in. Beardage.